grade 7. I'm just going to ad-lib this quick because I don't have any agenda here, um, nor much memory. Grade 7, Mr. Irving. Back to the old school now, back to the other side. Um, what can I say about him? He taught, he knew his stuff. He didn't really connect to the heart. Yeah, never thought about it till just now. But he never really connected to the heart. In fact, I don't think any of my teachers after that did, except one principal, who's still alive today, and was still involved in school until just really recently. Uh, oh my goodness. Well, I'll leave that alone right now. Uh, but this teacher, I didn't like him in the end. Wasn't really his fault, I don't think. He was younger and kind of a new breed of teacher, and moved in a different kind of a way. Uh, he had a friend who was teaching at the school at that time. He taught grade 6. He was a real jock. I guess there was an element of that. Maybe even Mr. Irving was a bit of a jock, although he was not as athletic as Mr. Payette was. Mr. Payette was a real sports person. Yeah. But I never really liked Mr. Irving. But too, I didn't like the subjects. I didn't like school much anymore. Uh, School was difficult. The things we were learning were harder, and I couldn't grasp it. I couldn't. I just couldn't get my mind around it. Not because I was slacking off, because it was just I found it too hard. I think I did well in a lot of areas, but the ones I couldn't grasp, I was hopeless. I was a lost cause, and there was no heart-to-heart person to come along and help you out. Geometry would be a good example. At the beginning, geometry was really interesting, angles and so like advanced problem solving with new techniques. But then it got harder, and I couldn't figure it out. I couldn't. The beginning of the end. I do remember that. I remember geometry, kind of enjoying it, going along, kind of enjoying it, and then what do you call them? I don't even know the word. Um, some of you know the word. I don't know the word. They had names. I don't know what they were called. But at a certain point, everything became Greek. I just couldn't, couldn't. Discouraging it was. Things got harder, and I was still just a kid. You know, I couldn't do big stuff. Okay, so I'm just gonna have to leave all of that, except for two things. One, I did not like Mr. Paquette. I despised him. No real reason I should do that, but I did. I did not like the man at all. Maybe because he was a big jock and not really a show off. It just that's what he was. Yeah, that's just what he was, and I didn't like it. I didn't like it at all. Uh, and this is the one example. Makes no sense at all, but it happened. We were playing football outside, and the teachers were playing with us. And it was a big field. And we kicked off to them, and went to Mr. Paquette, and he was going to run with the football. Well, I was on the opposite team, and after the ball was kicked, I ran down the field, and I ran, well, in this case, I ran as fast as I possibly could, which was fast. And I think it must have been flag football or something. I ran as fast as I could right into Mr. Paquette. I just smashed into him. I was in grade 7 and he was a grown man. And he was built like a brick wall. I mean, he had a lot of muscle there. And when I hit him, I felt like I hit a brick wall. I was going to teach him a lesson. I didn't like him. I take that. It makes no sense. And it didn't exactly go as I thought. I thought he'd bowl over or something. But he never moved. And I hit that brick wall and I dropped. I dropped and I couldn't breathe. All the wind knocked out of me. I remember him saying to the other teacher, to Mr. Irving, I don't know what happened. It's like he just ran on the field and he ran right into me, which is exactly what it did. Where did I get that hatred from? That's what it was. It was just pure hatred. Did not like him. And I want to run right into him and knock myself out. It was nothing ever happened because of it, and I think we carried on with the game, and I was a bit slow in recovering. Yeah. And the last thing was probably, well, I remember grade 7 the most. Whenever recess came, or lunch, if you stayed for lunch, and the afternoon recess, about, I don't know, 30 seconds before it was time to go for recess, we'd always play scrub baseball. We'd run into the field and play scrub baseball. I loved scrub baseball. Loved it. Loved it. And I was good at baseball. I was. I could always get on base. Every time I could get on base. I never hit the long ball. And I didn't try to smash it through the shortstop or the third baseman. I just hit a little bit. Hard enough that it just went over the infielder's head, but not more. I didn't want it to go way out where they can catch it. I just hit it enough to go over. Then I was a fast runner, so I'd run like crazy. And then I get to first base. And then once I got to first base, I could steal second. That would be no problem. And maybe if people weren't paying attention, I could steal third. I love baseball. And scrub. Oh, I was a really good shortstop. I know I'm boasting a bit there, but that's an area I did well, and there weren't many in life. I did that well. And we'd start right a few minutes before recess. First batter, second batter, third batter, catcher, pitcher. We'd pick our positions that we would start before we even came to the recess part. Then we go out for 15 minutes. We could play scrub baseball. I used to love doing that so much. and then after school, we'd all go to our local park, and we played scrub baseball every day there for years and years and years and years. There was a good part of life that was. the only the only negative thing um, about playing on that field was one day I ran out to the field to get so we can get started, and I guess I ran so fast the mouse never had a chance to get out of the way, and I squashed this mouse when I was running. I never did that before and never did since. But suddenly there was this squash mouse under my foot, and I was the squasher. That was a negative thing, and kind of yucky. But that was grade 7, and no bells and whistles, except that I was into deeper water now, and I didn't swim. Didn't know how to swim, and it was over my head, and there was no one to get me out. Grade 8 will be much the same. Grade 9, did I finish grade 9? I finished grade 9. Yeah, I finished grade 9. And they're about the same. Yeah. Well, because they're almost the same, I'll just zip through them. Grade 10. Grade, sorry, after 7 comes 8, doesn't it? Yeah, grade 8. Grade 8 was in the high school, and that was about 2-3 miles from my house, I suppose. We took a bus. It was about 1,500 students, quite large. High school. Same thing. I learned stuff because I was there, and some things you just pick up. But the subject was, I was getting more and more lost. Maybe not in history, and maybe not in geography. Yeah, we weren't well schooled. Remember, a teacher from Europe he took over our geography class one day, and he said, "Well, tomorrow we're going to have a debate on such and such a thing, some South American country." I don't think any of us knew what a debate was. We just didn't. And he said, "Well, tonight you prepare for your debate, and tomorrow we'll have the debate." Well, we all came into school, and we just floundered. We didn't know what he was talking about. He was so disgusted that we didn't know what a debate was. But I still enjoyed geography and history. But the math was okay. But the geometry was so deep, I totally lost. Guess doesn't need any more. That doesn't need any more grade 8, so we'll leave it. We started early in the morning, 8:30. Had to take a bus 3 miles, and then in the afternoon we finished about 2:30, I think. Took a bus home. Okay, that's grade 8. Grade 9, that's when troubles began. Grade 9, I could not keep up in any area, as I recall. I remember we were taking Latin classes. I sort of did okay in Latin, grammar-wise. Geometry, and whatever other subjects, French. I didn't care for it. I didn't like it, and I turned bad. Yeah, I didn't turn bad. I needed something to do, and the things I chose to do were bad, silly, like pointless, lost. In that school, which is a big school, I stole every single exit sign there was. Most of them were red with white writing. There were some special ones that were white with red writing. But eventually they all got stolen and put in a locker. I had an extra locker. And I put all the exit signs in the school in that locker. You have to go up to the light when no one was looking and 3 screws, and you take it out and hide it and go put it in your locker. I guess a dog does that with his bones. I don't know why I did it. I didn't know. There's something was wrong. I don't know why I did that kind of stuff. I just did. Took most of a year. I drilled a hole in the back of the class with a spike and a hammer, and I drilled it through the wall. Quite a thick wall. Took months. Whenever the class got noisy, I would hit the hammer on the nail a few times and make the hole go deeper. And eventually I broke through to the far side, so there was a hole in the wall. Every now and then the teacher in the next room, he'd come running over. Who's pounding on the walls? And, but I don't know. I don't know. But all the students on the other side knew, and I knew, and the people in my class knew, and they knew where that clanging noise was going on. But if there was an organized book drop at that particular moment, and everyone dropped their books, and there was a bunch of noise made, and the teacher would say, "Hey, you can't do that, don't do that." And while they were doing that, I was banging away in that wall. I ended up putting a hole right through it. Quite a good size hole, too. It was down low near the floor. And then I took some wire or fishing line, I don't know what I used, and one day at lunch I went and I tied the teacher's desk on the other side with the wire, and I connected it to the hole so that I could pull on it and the desk would move. I think that's the day I got caught. And it was by accident. It was by accident. I mean, the hole was right behind me, but that day, I pulled on his desk or something, and for some reason I changed seats with somebody. Not related to the teacher. We just swapped seats. Bad timing, because when that teacher was mad, I mean, he came over, he was just fiercely angry. And he went, "That's enough of this noise. Who's been doing that to the wall? Who put the cord through there?" And my teacher looked down and he saw I was not at my usual desk, and that said to him that was me, which it was me. But what a bad time to change desks. I did lots of stupid things like that. Can't tell you why. Don't know. Does that make me innocent? I plead not guilty, Your Honor. I didn't know what I was doing. And that's the truth. There was a biology class No, well, not biology. Got the wrong name there. Uh, guidance class, I think it was called. Guidance class. And I went to the guidance class and we had to take a test of some kind. Poke holes in the paper, answer the questions, and poke a hole here and there. When you're finished the test, they could flip it over and see the results. They'd figure the test out like that. And you answer the question and you choose the answer and you poke a hole in this piece of paper that matched the answer, and a bunch of questions, and then when it was finished they'd flip it over and you could tell by the where you landed inside of their little chart how you were doing. Okay, so we did that, but the questions they asked weren't fair. To me, they were not fair. My answers were honest. Would you rather be a biologist, a doctor, a chemist, a teacher, a music player, or the guy that sits? There was a railway station across from my grandfather's that had a big tower, and the guy in the tower would make the gates go up and down because the train stopped from the station, so sometimes the gates were down and the train would stop. The gates would go back up so people could get through. There's a lot of traffic there. And then he could tell when the train was going to leave and he'd put the gates back down. That was his job, that kind of thing. And there were a lot of trains. And that was one of the questions. Or would you rather be the guy that makes the gates go up and down at the train station? Well, that was a no-brainer for me. That's exactly, given the choices you gave me, I would definitely take that one, for sure. And there were lots of questions like that. They gave you these choices that were important, and then there'd be the other one that wasn't so important. And I kind of like those ones best. So I picked those things, because that's how I was. Yeah. Anyway, when he flipped the test over, we had to do something, and we could figure out what our mark was. And I did mine, and he came by and looked at my score, and he said, "Well, that can't be right." I said, "Well, I did the test the way you told me to, and that's the results I got." And he said, "No, that can't be right. You better redo it." I said, "Why?" "Well, because the results you came up with, it means you're insane." And then he went away. Never came back. What kind of guidance counselor is that? I did it as honest as I could, and didn't feel bad about any of my answers. I mean, maybe I should have wanted to be a lawyer and I wanted to be a doctor. Maybe that's what they want you to write, but it's not what I wanted to be. I'd much rather be the guy that made the gates go up and down, keep people safe, and to me that'd be a lot of fun. I would enjoy that. I would enjoy driving a bus, and that's how I was. And I could do those. I could probably do. Well, I know I could do those things well because I've done them. Well, no, I did. I've never done the train thing, but the simple jobs, driving a bus. That's to some people. That's just menial work. To me, it's a whole lot of fun. And you're meeting people, and yeah, you deal with traffic, and you learn how to defeat it, and yeah. But he said, no, that means you're insane. Well, there's another great esteem builder. Oh, and in grade 9, seems to me I ran away from home twice. I think it was grade 9. Yeah, I think so. In fact, I told people in class I'm going to run away tomorrow. and I did. Uh, I went home, and about 11 o'clock at night, when everyone was sleeping, I got on my bicycle and I just drove away. Something like that. I remember going to a guy's house, so I must have left before 11. I went to a guy's house, know his name, he's on Facebook. I've never talked to him about it. Well, we never talk anyway. Remember his birthday. Remember lots of things about him. But I was hiding out in his house. I guess it was too early to get on the highway and go further. So I hid out. I was in his room, just in his room. And then his mom came and she wanted to vacuum the room. And well, as soon as his mom started coming in the room, I had to hide. I'd come in the window. I had to hide. So I hid under the bed. And she was vacuuming the room. And sure enough, she threw the bedspread up a little bit and she put the wand of the vacuum cleaner underneath to get dust. And I was under that bed. I was just trying to move and not get hit by I didn't want to get caught. And I managed to escape the wand every time she passed it underneath. That was weird. Yeah. And then she left the room. And I think about midnight there I left and I got on the highway and I cycled. I cycled all night. I cycled to Ontario. And about noon I was still cycling. I was going down a highway in Ontario and this policeman came up behind me and I just crossed the county line and I thought, well, maybe if I can get over the county line he can't come after me. But I guess they're not really they don't really pay attention to the county line, apparently. And he pulled me over. He didn't pull me over. He stopped behind me, and I had to talk to him. He said, well, "Where are you from?" And I said, "Well, I'm from here." "Where's that?" I said, "Well, that's near Dorval Airport." He said, "That's a long ways away." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Well, why don't you have school?" I said, "Well, yeah, actually I do, but I decided not to go there anymore." And he didn't go for it. He said, "Nah, I can't let you do that. You took my bicycle and me, and I went to the police station, and they were nice enough people." And he called my parents and said, "We got your son here." I got caught. Yeah. I was there a long time because my dad was at work. I had to wait till work was finished, then he'd have to come and get me. It was about an hour by car, I guess. Yeah, it'd be an hour by